Coming up on Global Business, the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation will kick off tomorrow as the initiative marks its 10th anniversary. We travel to Kenya to take a look at the transformative railway project, which showcases Sino-African collaboration and modern infrastructure development. And today is World Food Day, which this year stresses the critical role that water plays for life on Earth. Chinese President Xi Jinping will attend the opening ceremony of the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation and deliver a keynote speech on Wednesday. On afternoon of October 16th, a second press briefing conference about green development was held for the forum. China has provided exchange and cooperation platforms to build international consensus on green development of the Belt and Road. As of August 2023, China has signed more than 200 documents regarding Belt and Road cooperation with more than 150 countries and more than 30 international organizations. BRI has brought together the basic environmental information of more than 60 participating countries, relevant environmental laws, regulations, and standards, and data of more than 200 ecological and environmental indicators. Nearly 200 journalists attended the first briefing of the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation today. We talked to several reporters to find out their views on 10 years of achievements of the BRI.
China is willing to invest, is willing to cooperate for co-developing projects. In that sense, I think it's very extraordinary. So I think that it's a very good perspective for the world. If we could use the money for developing instead of wars or invasions, everybody could benefit. In that sense, I'm looking forward to see more developing in this direction, that the world is more willing to cooperate.
I think in this time, it's a big thing for China, and for people who attend this forum. And I think maybe soon or later, every country will be part of this initiative.
This event important for us as Arab, for us as the humans in the world.
Now, to get a closer look at BRI achievements in different regions, let's cross to our correspondents, Roberlin Purba in Jakarta, Indonesia, and Jerome Chala in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Hi guys, good to see you. So first, Roberlin, what kinds of BRI projects have been implemented in Indonesia, and how have they affected Indonesia and the region?
Yeah, definitely. So there, as I am here in Indonesia, there a main program that has been implemented
Roberlin, it seems like we're having a little bit of difficulty collecting your voice. So, Jerome, what African countries are participating in the event?
So, as you know, the Belt and Road Initiative is a very important initiative, and so many African states have incorporated it into their respective plans. And for example, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia and so many others now are in Beijing to attend this important meeting. You should also know that this, the Ethiopian capital, is the seat of the African Union Commission. So many, people in the African Union are also saying that this participation by African leaders in the Beijing meeting is going to perhaps change the game of transforming the continent and seeing the Africa we want. The African Union has plans of seeing and transforming a continent that is free of conflict, but a most developed continent, using its resources for its own benefits and also contributing for the good of the world. So the Belt and Road Initiative is expected to perhaps help the African continent in this matter, and that's why so many of the leaders of the continent are now in Beijing to see so many results and also fulfill expectations.
And what can you tell us about the infrastructure construction and financial cooperation between Asia and Africa?
So first of all, let's talk about China-Africa relationship. China is now the largest trading partner of the African continent, and it's been a while since that has happened. So many strategic cooperative partners exist in this African continent. Now, that has translated into an Asia-Africa relationship. Asian states in different sizes and forms have created a stronger relationship because of the existing relationship between China and Africa. And that relationship, the cooperative relationship between Asia and Africa, continent to continent relationship, is now being seen in different parts of Africa. Infrastructure developments, for example, are key here. Roads, dams, and also other constructions are being held in the African continent, and that is impacting people's lives positively. So many people across the continent would like to see more and more of Asia-Africa cooperation, and we are expecting that to happen in the next perhaps a few years' time as this relationship is deepening by the day.
All right, thank you so much. Really appreciate your update, Jerome Chala in Ethiopia for us. Now we're joined by my colleague Zheng Junfeng, who is in Uzbekistan's Samarkand, an important ancient Silk Road city. So let's see what Junfeng has to say about the city.
Hi, Michelle. I'm in Samarkand to attend the 25th United Nations World Tourism Organization's General Assembly. This event takes place once in every 2 years to promote global tourism. This year, the UNWTO hosts the assembly in Samarkand, inviting tourism ministers and companies from over 100 countries around the world. And Samarkand really opens our eyes. It's a historical city in Uzbekistan, Central Asia. It has a rich history that dates back over 2,500 years. Known as the Pearl of the East, Samarkand has been a major center of trade, culture, and scholarship along the Silk Road. The city is renowned for its stunning architecture. I see these very beautiful facades which reflects the influence of Islamic civilizations. Tomorrow I'm invited to be the MC for the Global Investment Forum, and I have a high-level dialogue with tourism ministers of several countries to discuss ways to boost tourism-related investment in education, sustainability, and technology.
Now, tourism is a vital component of the Belt and Road Initiative. So how has the BRI evolved in terms of its impact on tourism over the past decade?
Well, Michelle, the Belt and Road Initiative has a strong focus on transportation infrastructure. I mean, roads, a railway, airports, and seaports. So the BRI directly improves accessibility for tourists. For example, Samarkand is not a very big city. There's no direct flight from Beijing, but there's direct flight from Beijing to Tashkent, the capital city of Uzbekistan, and transfers via railway or bus to here. And China Southern Airlines has opened a direct flight from Urumqi to Samarkand that takes around 3 hours. I was among the first group of passengers that took the debut flight last night. In tourism, accessibility is really a key visitor experience. Then the accommodation facilities are also important. We're staying in a 5-star hotels here in Samarkand. I was told the hotel is invested by Chinese businessmen. The quality lodging is impressive and very modern. It really increases our satisfaction staying here. And last Samarkand has renovated and preserved heritage sites like this very well. They're very clean, they're very beautiful, enjoyable. So it needs infrastructure investment like this. And it's really part of the efforts made along the Belt and Road countries.
All right, that's Zheng Junfeng for us from Uzbekistan. Now, for more insights on China-Africa cooperation, I want to bring in Alvigui Igugu, Policy Analyst of Development, Reimagine. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. So what specific types of infrastructure projects are being undertaken through China-African cooperation, and how are they expected to contribute to local economic development?
Yeah, I mean, over the last 10 years, we've seen very massive improvement in connectivity infrastructure, in particular, across the continent. For instance, if you look at Ethiopia, you have the Addis Ababa SGR, which is at the core of Ethiopia's new national railway network. You have major expressway projects being built across the continent, like in Uganda. You have the Entebbe, Kampala, four-lane expressway, which is really boosting connectivity between within the country. in Nigeria and in the northern part of the continent. You have the Churchill Ring Expressway and ports, with a massive investment, I think about $3 billion, which is really connecting the continent with the Mediterranean. So across the continent, whether northeast to the southern part of the continent, or even West Africa, like my country, we've seen massive investments coming in from China, some of them in loans to support the development of African countries. And it's happening at a very critical time where Africa is moving towards a continental free trade agreement that has been put into force. And you need this infrastructure to really connect markets, connect people. And China has been a major player in this space in driving this connectivity.
Now let's talk about China's lending. So how does China approach to lending differ from that of traditional creditors? And what are the key factors that can be used to mitigate debt risks?
Yeah, first of all, I think one of the main achievements of the BRI is not even just the infrastructure that we've seen that have come out of it, but the fact that it really underscores the importance of infrastructure development for in terms of global development, the way we've looked at global development in many years. Because prior to the Belt and Road Initiative, we're not seeing investment from other parts of the world that are supposedly Africa's key partners. But because of the successes of the BRI, we now see the G7 putting out its partnership for global infrastructure investment. We are seeing the EU come into the space as well. So overall, that's one of the main success, that it's a proof of concept. It really reminded the world that this is the way to do it. Now, regarding how these investments have matured, I think on the continent there are issues, of course, with COVID-19 pandemic. The growth slowed down across the world, and of course that led to certain concerns whether we'll see more lending or whether there are issues around debt. But I think African countries and China have been working very closely to try to really mitigate these issues. We saw very recently with Zambia and China, of course, really moving in that direction, making positive steps. And I think all across the continent, we're going to see these type of measures to manage the lending very effectively.
And how does Chinese financing support economic development in African countries?
It really does, but mostly from an investment standpoint. China has been one of the fastest growing investors on the continent over the past 20 years. I mean, if you even go back to the start of the century, so of the new millennium rather. While FDI has grown, also investment into infrastructure has really grown, driving economic activity. I'll give you an example. For instance, in Nigeria, there is the Abuja-Kano railway line, which was financed by the Chinese public bank, and that has really been very, very crucial in terms of moving commodities, because we have agricultural belts in the north of the country, moving those commodities down south to the capital and even further, helping in distributing and improving transportation of agricultural products, even also people. So from that perspective, in sectors in technology as well, we're seeing these investments in digital space. There's even the digital Silk Road within this broader framework that is improving connectivity, across my country, Nigeria, and even other countries as well. So I think it's a multi-sectoral investment that has been very, very positive for the continent.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate your time. That was Olive Igugu, Policy Analyst of Development Reimagined, for us. CGTN has partnered with the CRRC to present Rails of Progress, an in-depth media report series. This series delves into the transportation infrastructure projects within Belt and Road Initiative countries, highlighting the role of high-quality Chinese locomotives, equipment, and support services in bolstering local economic development. In today's episode, CGTN's correspondent Robert Najila takes a look at the performance of Kenya's standard gauge railway, which connects the port city of Mombasa and the capital, Nairobi, which is also a BRI project.
Launched in 2017, the Standard Gauge Railway is Kenya's largest infrastructure project since independence. Constructed by the China Road and Bridge Corporation, it was completed ahead of schedule at a cost of $3.6 billion. The new line is based on a successful blueprint using Chinese standards, technology, equipment and management practices and serves as a model for Sino-Africa cooperation. The passenger train is named the Madaraka Express with a sitting capacity of 960 passengers. It is managed by the Africa Star Railway Operation Company, contracted by the Kenya Railways Corporation.
I actually love the fact that I work here. I've had to do so many things, I encounter so many challenges, and it has built me as a person and also in my career.
The railway is part of the Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious program by China that aims to improve regional connectivity and economic integration through infrastructural development. The Mombasa-Nairobi line covers a distance of 480 kilometers. From Nairobi, it heads 120 kilometers south to Suswa, where an inland container depot has been established. The railway has a total of 33 stations comprising 9 passenger and freight stations, 22 passing stations and 2 marshalling yards, where individual passenger and freight cars are organized into trains. The designed operational speed of the line is 120 kilometers per hour. The standard gauge railway has revolutionized rail transport in the country, cutting down travel times between Mombasa and Nairobi from about 22 hours with the old train to just 5 hours, and is now the preferred mode of transport for most Kenyans traveling between the two cities.
For example, if you're going by economy at 1,000 shillings, it's so much cheaper as well. So all those compound together, so speed, safety, cost, all those come in, and it's very convenient for me.
So far, it's been quite good actually. One, because it's quite convenient and comfortable and cost effective.
As a result of its affordability, convenience and safety standards, last year, passenger traffic between Nairobi and Mombasa grew to 2.4 million from just under 2 million the previous year. The railway line's core function is freight transportation. As a result of the SGR's efficiency, reliability and speed, the sector's witnessed rapid growth, helping to decongest the port of Mombasa. In 2022 alone, the railway line transported over 6 million metric tons compared to 5.4 million metric tons in 2021, according to the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics. Nairobi is the only capital city in the world that boasts a national park within it, covering some 117 square kilometers. The park is a host to a variety of animals, including lions, giraffes, zebras and rhinos. It is also through this park and another, the world-famous Tsavo National Park, that the standard gauge railway crosses through. To conserve the migration paths, a bridge rising over 18 meters above ground in some sections was built in the Nairobi National Park to allow large animals access.
Absolutely, it has achieved the purpose because we have seen the movement of our wildlife has not changed so much, especially under the bridge. In fact, one of the interventions or the measures that we have seen has really worked is the sound-proof measure that has been put in place.
About a kilometer from the ultra-modern standard gauge railway terminal in Nairobi is a huge yard with several buildings that make up the Locomotive Vehicle Maintenance Workshop. It is here that maintenance is carried out on the locomotives, the part of the train that contains the engine. It is a huge operation. In total, there are 56 internal combustion locomotives serving passenger, freight and shunting. There are also 41 passenger cars and 1,620 railway freight cars. Chen Jun, the production supervisor at the locomotive section, says despite cultural differences between the Chinese and Kenyan workers, they have a good working relationship.
我很喜欢我这份工作，因为跟肯尼亚员工在一起，感觉非常开心。因为肯尼亚员工他们都非常活跃，也相当聪明。完了以后，我们中方师傅带他们，在一起，不管是生活、工作，都非常融洽，对吧？所以对这份工作我特别喜欢。
It is a sentiment shared by Patrick Mungai, a locomotive engineer.
I know I'm not fluent with Chinese, but I can hear, I can understand. Some of them can speak Swahili. You interact with them, you learn a new culture, you learn new things about maybe technology.
An important aspect of the Belt and Road Initiative is technology and skills transfer. Over the past 6 years, since the standard gauge railway began operations, the Chinese engineers have passed on valuable maintenance and repair experience to their Kenyan colleagues, covering various systems and key components of locomotives, developing operational procedures and standards for major inspections, auxiliary, minor and medium repairs. In order to equip this new workforce with the skills required to service the diesel locomotives, CRRC also accepts engineering students from local universities, training them on the maintenance process. Tanisha Imali, an engineering student at a local university, is currently on attachment at the facility. On this day, she is helping the team overhaul a locomotive engine.
Here for only 3 months attachment. I've been rotating through the teams for 2 weeks. Started with the integrated team, then locomotive team, and now I'm on the engine team.
This new crop of engineers pride themselves in their work and hope that this facility could be a benchmark for the entire region.
When other countries like Uganda, Tanzania, instead of going overseas to look for other people, they can get us and maybe even save on what they're supposed to do because the knowledge is right at their doorstep.
The Standard Gauge Railway is a flagship project tied to Kenya's Vision 2030, a blueprint which seeks to transform the country into an industrialized middle-income country, making it a vital cog in Kenya's economic plans. In the long term, Kenya Railways plans to extend the Standard Gauge Railway from Suswa to Malaba along the border with Uganda, establishing connectivity across East Africa, becoming an important economic artery.
It's World Food Day, promoting awareness of hunger and action for the future of food, people, and the planet. This year's World Food Day has the theme, Water is Life, Water is Food, Leave No One Behind. However, there are still many places in the world facing deepening food crisis. According to a report released by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations earlier this year, around 2.4 billion people do not have consistent access to sufficient food in 2022, about 29.6% of the global population. More than 3.1 billion people in the world, or 42%, were unable to afford a healthy diet in 2021. The report also said previously self-sustaining rural regions, especially in Africa and Asia, are now increasingly dependent on national and global food markets. Now, to better understand this, we're joined by Li Feng, Director of the Land and Water Division at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Mr. Li, thank you so much for joining us. First, the FAO recently launched a new flagship report examining the impact of disasters on agriculture and food security. What would you say are some of the key findings and implications from this report?
Thank you very much for inviting me to join this program. This new flagship report, launched last Friday by FAO, the impact of disasters on agriculture and food security, avoiding and reducing losses through investment in resilience, brings the first ever global level estimation of the impact of disasters on agriculture. The findings of this report are stark. We have lost an estimated $3.8 trillion worth of crops and livestock production due to disastrous events over the past 3 decades. This corresponds to the about 1 year $123 billion losses, or more than 5% of annual global agriculture GDP. This figure would be significantly higher if systematic data on losses in the forestry, fisheries, and aquaculture subsectors were available. Research aimed to deciphering the impact of climate change on agriculture indicates that climate change is likely to lead to a more frequent yield anomalies and a decreasing in agriculture production. So we urgently need better information on all these subsectors to create data systems that can serve as the foundation upon which effective actions can be built and informed. This will also meet the monitoring requirement of the Sendai Framework of Disaster Risk Reduction and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We need to increase investment in resilience by adapting creative and innovative and scalable solutions that can avoid and reduce losses generated by disasters. For example, developing flood adaptive economies in the floodplain and building facilities and infrastructures to store flood water. We also need to prioritize the integration of multi-sectoral, multi-hazard disaster risk reduction strategies into agricultural policies and programs.
All right, very quickly, this year is World Food Day, and today is World Food Day, and focuses on water. Can you explain the critical importance of water security and some of the key challenges that we must address when it comes to sustainable water resource management? Very briefly.
Yes, water is life. Water accounts for half of our human bodies. Water is the direct input to agriculture and also is vital for many other economies and our healthy ecosystems and environment. Water is irreplaceable to achieve human basic right to water and sanitation, and to achieve zero hunger and no poverty for all, and all of the other sustainable development goals. Certainly, we're facing many challenges, namely the 4 water challenges, which is about water scarcity. You mentioned that we have billions of people still living in water-stressed countries. We also have the second water challenge, which is the flood. According to FAO's estimation, about 1.8 billion people exposed to a significant flood hazard. Pollution.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we are running out of time. Thank you so much for your insights. We really appreciate your time. Li Feng, Director of Land and Water Division at FAO for us. And that will do it for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Jia Vandenberg in Beijing. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.